October 14, 1908. The Evening Argus, Owasso, Michigan. Mob storms Parliament. Suffragettes pull off big demonstration in London. Entire police force out. 5,000 of them protected lawmakers from invasion of women. One succeeds in reaching the Speaker's chair. Several arrests made. Many fainted in jam. London, October 14. The climax to the suffragette campaign was reached last night when an enormous mob hemmed in Parliament and stopped traffic in all streets leading to Westminster. For more than 3 hours, the crowds scuffled good-naturedly with the police, interfered with the theater-goers, broke windows, and disorganized things generally in the center of London. The heroine of the day was Mrs. Travers Simons, formerly secretary of James Keir Hardle, the Socialist and Independent Member of Parliament, who reached the door of the House of Commons by strategy. The House was solemnly debating a bill to prevent children from cigarette smoking when the woman dashed past the doorkeeper to a position in front of the Speaker's chair and shouted shrilly, "Leave off discussing children and talk about women." 3 officials seized Mrs. Simons and carried her out bodily. She was then led to the outer door and dismissed. The appeal issued by the suffragettes a few days ago for 60,000 persons to help them rush Parliament at 7:30 last evening was the most successful stroke yet. Not less than twice that number responded to the call, and 9/10 of these were young people who came to see the fun. There were also a few hundred of the unemployed and their sympathizers. Parliament was in a state of siege. The whole police force, together with cavalry, infantry, and marines, numbering more than 5,000, was kept busy protecting the building and in restraining the pushing, struggling masses, especially about Trafalgar Square. The crowds cheered, sang songs, and hooted, giving voice to all the sarcastic remarks that a London crowd is capable of. They were aimed in a semi-good-natured manner at the suffragettes who, distinguished by their orange sashes, swarmed everywhere, distributing tracts. A delegation of 13 suffragettes, which approached the police cordon and was formally refused admission to Parliament, attempted a football rush, but the police chivalrously repulsed the women with the least possible roughness. 2 bodies of the unemployed, however, which approached the line, were driven off with little saving grace. The police were pelted with vegetables and small stones, but nobody was seriously hurt. 24 suffragettes and 12 of the unemployed were placed under arrest. Many persons fainted in the crush. A few were trampled upon and taken to the hospitals. May 7, 1913. Ellensburg Daily Record, Ellensburg, Kittitas County, Washington. Reign of Terror started anew by militant women. Morning papers say that law-breaking tactics employed by alienated sympathies of supporters. Bill defeated in House. London, May 7. A verger who conducts sightseers through St. Paul's Cathedral was making his rounds at 8 o'clock this morning when he heard a ticking sound near the high altar. Upon investigation, he found hidden a heavy parcel wrapped in brown paper. He immediately placed it in water and handed it over to the police, who say that there is no doubt that it was placed in position by militant suffragettes or persons in their employ. A suffragette paper was wrapped about the bomb. The bomb was painted black and contained 2 detonators attached to an electric battery. It was filled with slugs of hard black substance resembling coal. This attempt, and the placing of 2 other bombs in other parts of the city this morning, made it appear that the militant suffragettes had entered anew on their havoc-wrecking campaign following the defeat of the woman suffrage bill in the House of Commons last night. Shortly after the discovery at the cathedral, the police found a similar bomb-lit package on the steps of a newspaper office in Fleet Street, and a tin canister believed to contain explosives was picked up on the steps of a wholesale drug establishment near St. Paul's. Suffrage arson squads were also busy early this morning. They burned down a pavilion on the cricket field at Shops Park, Fulham, in the West End of London and also set fire to an unoccupied home at Finchley in the north of London. Suffragette placards and quantities of chemicals were found in vicinity of both fires. Another mysterious fire broke out in a timber yard in Lambeth today. This is the fourth of this kind in London in 4 days. It was extinguished before much damage had been done. The defeat of the woman suffrage bill in the House of Commons last night is generally attributed by the morning papers to the women themselves, the militant ones, whose wild, law-breaking tactics alienated the sympathies of the suffrage supporters. The Times says the embarrassment that the militants have inflicted on the cause lies like a dead weight over the course of the debate on the bill in the House of Commons. Small but fiendishly powerful is the police description of the bomb found near the high altar of St. Paul's Cathedral. When the machine was taken to pieces, it was discovered that it was timed to explode at midnight, but a derangement of the clockwork retarded the explosion. Apparently, only this action prevented untold damage to the cathedral. A number of brass screws, nails, and coarse metal slugs were found among the contents. July 23, 1913. The Telegraph, Nashua, New Hampshire. Now refuses to walk. Mrs. Pankhurst takes new tack in fighting the law. London, July 23. In Holloway Jail, Mrs. Emmeline Pankhurst, leader of the militant suffragettes, continued her hunger strike, as well as her newest form of protest, refusal to walk. From the moment of her sensational rearrest at the big meeting in London Pavilion, Mrs. Pankhurst has declined food and refuses to move her feet. When the detectives seized her, she sank down limply, and they had to carry her out of the building. She forced them to carry her into the police station and then into Holloway Jail. All the women arrested at the London Pavilion during the suffragette riot that accompanied the rearrest of Mrs. Pankhurst were convicted in police court. They were given the alternative of sentences of from 14 to 21 days in jail or paying fines. All of them chose imprisonment. July 11, 1914. The Freelance, Fredericksburg, Virginia. Nearly Lynch suffragette. Fury assails King George and police protect her from crowd. Perth, Scotland, July 11. A militant Fury narrowly escaped being lynched after she had made a personal attack upon King George in this city. While the king was riding through the city, the woman, with the suffrage banner in her hand, dashed from the police lines and leaped upon the running board shouting, "You must stop forcible feeding. We will tolerate it no longer." The woman then tried to open the door of the automobile to get at the king, but was unable to do so, and before she could be seized, she had smashed the glass and was trying to unlock the door from the inside. Police dragged her from the automobile, but the crowd surged forth. Mounted policemen with riot sticks beat off the infuriated Scots and probably saved the woman's life. The woman was later identified as Rhoda Fleming of Glasgow.